So I moved to Thailand and I'm going to tell you all about it. Thailand has been on my mind for many, many years. So when I started college, university, I early on knew that I was going to pursue education as my passion, what I was going to pursue a career in. And over different periods of my life, I've kind of like come and gone. I've always known that I had this leadership quality that I wanted to teach, but I was always a little fussy on how I wanted to deliver that message. And I feel like what I'm doing here on YouTube is much more narrowed down and closer to what I think my life's goal and mission and purpose is. But I still decided to come here to Thailand to teach. So I'm teaching English here. I'm in Chiang Rai. I'm in the upmost northern region, if you don't know. I have learned just a little bit of Thai. I know some basic words, some basic phrases to help me get around. As they say, people are genuinely so kind and always willing to help you out. I have a story that today I literally went to the hospital to get my ear checked out because I was having some problems with it as soon as I arrived. And it's been kind of on my mind for the past 2 weeks. And I guess the point of this video is maybe for anyone that's considering moving to a different country, starting over, starting a different life. Maybe you are in that position right now. Maybe you would like to do that at some point in your life. And I'm telling you that there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, as you probably know. All the documentation, all the paperwork, all of the billion questions that you have to answer, all the things that you have to have ready. And honestly, it is such a rewarding experience. It is, though, up and down. I'm going to be so honest. And I feel like as much as everyone overhypes up and says travel is this beautiful thing, we don't often talk about how travel can also be really scary, okay? Like I've opened up in some other videos, I used to see travel as a way to escape. A way to escape a life that I didn't want. And then I studied abroad for a year. And I realized at one point, your problems, your challenges do still come up. It doesn't matter if you're on the other side of the world, you still have to go through challenges. You're still going to have good days, you're still going to have bad days. And it's not about eliminating the bad days, but having the tools in order to succeed on those bad days. Today, I was freaking out in the waiting room at the hospital. Again, I don't speak the language, like practically at all. This is like one of my first times in a hospital here. Like everything is so different. How does the medical system work? I'm also coming from a country that charges so much money for just a basic consultation. So I'm like, am I going to need to be borrowing money? Like I have no idea what to expect. And when we have that, our minds just fill up with just not knowing what it is that we actually need, okay? It's like your mind takes over and nothing else matters. Your anxious thoughts, you start feeling that anxiety. Again, today, literally in the waiting room of the hospital, I'm starting to freak out, but I'm also working through some breathing techniques. I'm visualizing my happy place. And then I go and I meet the doctor, and everything went like as splendid as it could have gone. Genuinely and honestly, as pleasant as it could have gone. But at the same time, literally when I was next to the doctor, my legs were shaking. Like shaking, shaking, shaking uncontrollably. I was just so nervous of not knowing what to expect. And even though that was happening, I kept saying in my mind, I am safe. I am calm. I can feel secure. I am safe here. Because your body is going to be the first thing that tells you whether you feel safe or not. If you start feeling shaky, if you start, getting cold, getting super hot, all of these things are signs that your body is sending you. And so rarely do we listen to what our bodies are telling you. But genuinely and honestly, like your body is going to tell you way before your mind has even told you. That's why it's so important to listen to your body and know what's going on internally. Whatever is going on down here, this way under, is just as important as whatever's going on in your mind, probably even more important is, your heart, your core, your body, your spirit. So, yes, it's been a whirlwind. And this is something I've also learned just literally being here a few weeks is everyone is going through their own challenge. Every single person in my program that I came to is struggling with something else, okay? And like I always say, God and the universe have given you the challenges that they know that you can handle. Anything that has already been given to you as a challenge has already received its solution in its place. When you receive a problem, at the exact same time you are receiving the solution as to how to work through that challenge. So, for example, me, since the beginning of my time here, I've been worried about my ear. I've been waking up in the middle of the night. I've been having to take care of it. I've been embarrassed about it. It's been hard for me to talk about. So many things going on. I've had to go to the hospital now 2 times. I'm going to have to go again to get it checked out. I'm prescribed medicine. All of these things are happening to me. But for some reason, I have faith, not even that I know, I have faith that I have been given this challenge because I can handle it. Other people would freak out. Other people would not know where to begin. Someone else would say, I'm going home. I am not going to figure this system out. I can't do it. It's too overwhelming. But I'm here to encourage you. If you're going through something, it's because genuinely deep inside, it's because you can handle it. I have other people, their accommodations, their stays, not what they dreamed of, They've had to get maybe extra medicines or stuff because they're, not liking where they're living. They've had to buy more things. They've had to spend more money on certain appliances. Other people, they don't really like their school. They don't really like the other teachers at their school, or the kids are really mean, or whatever it is. Every single person is going through something, okay? So, and this is such a vulnerable experience because from the beginning I knew it was going to be like this. I expected this. I expected people to have ups and downs as well as myself. When I was in orientation my first week, I remember passing my rooms, like we were all staying in a hotel room, and I remember passing the door next to me, and I heard this girl crying inside the room. And I was just like, okay. So I just leaned in to listen a little bit. I was like, let's make sure that she's okay. Again, this is extremely overwhelming. This is completely new atmosphere. And later on that day, I checked in on her and I was like, hey, I know that you're having a hard time. Like, I heard you crying, honestly. And I just want to check in and see how you're doing. Like, are you okay? I'm here. I cried this morning. Like, whatever it is. And she just tells me, you know what? I'm just in this really long distance relationship and it's been really hard to communicate with my partner ever since I arrived. And I go, I'm in a long distance relationship too. I've had to figure out new ways of communicating with my partner. And it just opened up this dialogue so that we could talk about it, because what she's going through is not the first time that someone in the world has been through it. Same thing with me. It's not the first time someone's had to go to the hospital when they were abroad and they had no idea how the system worked. Everything that we think is just ours never is. And that's like the trick that I feel like the ego plays on us when you think that you're separate from other human beings, when you think that your emotions have never been felt before. But again, every human being has felt the emotions that you feel. It's just, are you willing to be vulnerable? Are you willing to let go of your ego in order to let this real reality of truth come in, showing you that it actually is going to be okay. It actually is for your highest good. It actually is here to help you, to make you better, to make you stronger, to make you more resilient. Imagine, God forbid, for another reason I have to go to the hospital later on. And it was because right now I did it nice and calm, taking it in, like nothing too scary. Maybe right now I'm being set up for that later situation where I'm going to make it work. I always say this with teaching. There's so many times where, because last week I was already teaching, there's so many things that have already come up where I'm like, because something happened in my life before, a challenge, a heartache, even something I chose to do, now I get to use this knowledge and I get to apply it. But if I hadn't done this in my past, like where I am right now would be very, very different. For example, at my school, I'm also teaching all the music classes. So I was thinking, okay, I don't know that much about music, but My last year of university, I did take a piano class and I learned notes and beats and rhythms and so many things when it came to music from a perspective I had never learned before. Did I think taking that college level class in my university that years later I would be teaching kids across the world in a different language how to do music, how to do music notes? No, that never in my mind crossed that that is how God had set me up in order to do this later. Never did I think that that would be the case, but here I am. I got all of that knowledge and now I can apply it being here. You never know the steps that you're taking, the things that you're building that are going to come in so handy for you in the future. And that's something I would even say, honestly, it's what you least expect. If you plan it out like, oh, I want to be really good at this, so I'm going to focus on doing this step and this step and this step. Later on, maybe you're not even going to use it, you know? For me, I genuinely feel like the things that just brought me joy, the things I was doing just for fun, for entertainment, for learning purposes, not thinking I'm gonna have to use this later. Those are the things that always come back to me. They always come back to me and I always find them in a different way. And it's a beautiful thing. It's such a warm feeling that connection to your like past self, at the same time feeling a connection with your future self, you know? You never know what the choices that you're making today, how those choices are affecting your tomorrow, you know? Or how even the choices that you made in the past got you exactly to where you are. Out of all the billions and trillions of possibilities of where your life could have gone, you're standing still in this moment, in this present moment of something that is currently happening. And that's magic, you know? It's magic that happens every single day, but until you stop and you recognize it, it just it just fades you. It just goes past. And this is another thing, like talk about getting out of your comfort zone. I Looking back at where I was in my life before leaving, I was sitting down in my comfort zone. Genuinely so, in so many aspects of life. I would just do routine things. I would just do the same thing every single day. I would just see the same people. I would just have the same conversations. It was so like monotoned. It was like I was on autopilot. And now I look back and I realize there's so much of life that's exciting when you don't know the exact plan. You know, when I couldn't tell you exactly what I'm doing tomorrow or exactly how this is going to go or exactly that plan of how I'm going to see that person. But you don't have to. Sometimes you really, really don't have to. And this is a beautiful thing about experiencing a different culture. You get to see your own culture, your own life from an external perspective. And you can start to choose the life that you want. Not only have I been given this language, have I been given this nationality, this race, this identity, this family, I now get to choose what I want to do. I get to choose and I get to see the new world around me, you know, with so many differences. And I get to say, I want to do that. I choose to do this. I'm going to bring that back home. And it's about thinking, what are the tiny things that you can just show yourself every day that you have a choice? So many times we like feel so down because we just think we don't have choices. A lack of choices means a lack of freedom. And historically, we know what people do when they don't feel like they have freedom. It is like, you know, anything goes. When there is no freedom, there is no nothing. So remember that every single day you do have choices. You can start building new life. You can start doing all of these things. It just takes your intention, you know? And honestly, like being here these past couple weeks, I've been taking it, you know, very slow, one thing at a time. I'm not like in a rush to do everything all at once. You know, there's things I want to try. There's going to be things I fail at. There's going to be everything in between. But I'm realizing more and more the importance of building up my happiness tolerance. Your happiness tolerance is pretty much like when you feel happy, a lot of us tend to self-sabotage and bring ourselves back because we're not wired for what's good for us. We're not wired for happiness. We're wired for what's familiar to us. So if you've never felt anything happiness above this level, you're going to always sabotage yourself down until it feels safe. So that's something I'm realizing here. this thing with my ear, this is passing. I know that this is a passing thing. I'm going to look back and barely even remember that this happened, even though it seemed like such a big deal at the time. But when I do come back to it, I'm going to be like, I'm going to face that head on. I'm going to actually see the perspective that I was giving myself. And I am going to now learn I can be super happy when I'm here. I can actually cultivate feelings of joy, of excitement, of happiness. It doesn't always have to be something is going wrong. That's something that so many of us get tied up in the habit of just believing that things are always going to be always going to go wrong. If you believe that things are naturally going to go wrong, there's something that always has to bring you back down. That's exactly what you get. And honestly, you're going to have a pretty miserable life because of it. You are not going to tap into any of those high vibrational moments because you're always going to be waiting for something bad to happen. And if you believe that that's what you're going to see it in your reality too. If you believe it up here, you're going to see it in your reality, Anything that we think as a thought first, we're going to see in our external world later. Eventually, it's going to catch up to us. But we can also, like I'm saying, you can choose to believe something different. You can choose to tell yourself that good things just happen to you. You can choose to say, I'm just the person that gets through anything. I can handle anything. Cuz you truly can. I feel like it's kind of life's own joke that we come in as these most abundant soul. We're capable of anything. We're so tied with the spiritual, with nature, with God. And over time we start losing it. And I think it really is our life's mission to get back to that. What your original intent was. Why did you come to earth? From this perspective, why did you choose to give yourself the problems and the challenges that you have? If you think that they're in vain, if you think that they're for nothing, again, you're going to have a miserable life thinking that you just have to suffer. Whereas you can believe, I'm being challenged right now. But what if before I even came to this earth, before I even started my life, I chose this challenge? Because I, just like God, already knew that I was going to be able to handle it. And for some reason, I had to do this in this life. I had to go through these hardships, as good, as small, as big, as large. I was meant to go through these challenges. And maybe the fact that I know myself and I, as my highest self, have chosen this hardship for me, it's all in service of something. It's all in service of me being better, of growing, of understanding, of literally just gaining more consciousness. It truly is all about that. How can we gain more perspective and more consciousness? Every single life, every single moment, every single perspective, every single choice leads us to these big questions and these big decisions. And you are, as we always say, you are leading your life, your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions. You are leading the way. You are not in the passenger seat. Even if you don't like where you're going, you can choose to turn the car around, go somewhere else. You are not a victim of your circumstances. The biggest myth that you could ever be sold is that you are a victim. You are not a victim. You are literally pure gold. You are pure abundance. You're pure energy. The only reason you don't believe that is because you somewhere along the way, you lost that belief in yourself. But you were born with it. You were born with that knowledge. I truly believe it. And if you don't feel that yet, make it your life's mission to find that, because it truly is inherently shaped in every single soul. Every single human being has that inside of them. So thank you guys for watching today's video. If you guys have questions about me living in Thailand, what it's been like, what organization I came with, what school days look like, I don't know, anything. I feel like I can always tie it back to personal development because that's my bread and butter. So yes, with all that being said, thanks for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next one.